Now, locally, the market is at a 7-week low. Joining us for a look at what is behind that is Rod North, the Executive Director of Bourse Communications. Rod, good to see you as always. Good morning. Very disappointing in terms of the performance of the market.
Yes, the market's been very flat, but a lot of the focus has been on situations that keep arising on the geopolitical scene, and in particular, there's a lot of concern over the Greek debt position. You know, they actually need more money than the 147 billion that they've currently been loaned, and I think there's some expectation that that economy might go backwards in terms of its GDP by another 3.5%. But it's interesting because it's all relative, isn't it? Because you just talked about the debt that the US has, which is, you know, pretty incredible in the trillions, and the expectation to want to increase that up to 21 trillion. So it's all relative. So I suppose we don't need to focus too much on economies in Europe, which in some ways are no bigger than some of the states within America as well. So we've got to put it all into the right sort of relative stage. But our market's been very flat, you know, for 7 weeks, and it's sort of dropping back around that sort of support level of about 4,700. But it's really looking for some significant direction, I think, to get it moving on again.
Now, we all know the housing market in most cities is fairly soft, and the latest home loan lending figures certainly won't help it any.
Yes, they're not great. You know, to see another decline of 1.5% there isn't terrific. But the other thing I found quite interesting was to have a look at what's been happening, particularly with auctions around Australia, and we're now seeing clearance rates dropping back to between sort of 55 to 60%. But the other interesting thing is that the number of houses that are currently being sold are about half from where they were last year. So, you know, that sector of the economy is, you know, looking pretty flat as well at the moment. And I think obviously a lot of that sort of hedges back towards, you know, where I think there's a concern over the outlook for rates, interest rates. I mean, most people are expecting rates to increase this year, but it's just a question of when. So I think people are being very cautious in property, cautious in shares, you know, cautious on a whole range of fronts as well, even in car sales, because we saw the car sales figures for April come out yesterday too, and there was a decline of 3.5% there as well. So it's showing people are a bit more concerned about spending money on big ticket items if they're going to have to pay more for rates down the track.
I've heard a number of economists say that's a whole new edict in Australia now, is don't spend your money, which really is a problem for
well,
the
we're
economy
good savers. We've become very good savers, so I think the money's there, but people are very cautious, I think. And you know, obviously the uncertainty about what's happening just in our own political situation too, I suppose. Too, there's uncertainty there with a minority government. So people are largely sitting on their hands, keeping their money in the bank and saving,
Waiting
really.
to see what happens. Now, small businesses, rather disturbing to find that 30,000 of them have been lost since the GFC.
Yes, that's a really interesting figure. But the impact of that, I suppose, is that they're businesses that employ somewhere between 1 and 4 people. So if you multiply that out, that's something like about 120,000 jobs lost. So, you know, obviously that small business sector is one that needs to, you know, have a clear focus to sort of really sort of prime that to get that part of the economy moving again, get people employing people and starting new businesses again.
Rod North, good to see you.
Thank you.